Hello, welcome back for another movie review. This is Ian here along with Chris, and we're fresh off the Justice League press.
Justice League. Yeah, this I would say the most controversial movie.
This one's up there, about
Definitely had a lot of attention.
right next to Batman versus Superman. I think in terms of what it could generate. I mean, and then look at the timing where this is coming out. You know, we're right in the heels of Thor. Right ahead of this, you got Black Panther. We're in a season surrounded by superhero movies and other really, big budget releases.
Yep.
But
this one definitely had a lot of people's attention though, because everyone was really worried about what it would be.
Right. Exactly.
What are we gonna get? And what we're gonna tell you. We got the non-spoiler review here, and after this, you'll be able to find our spoiler review as well. So if you want to spoil it for yourself, if you want to hear a discussion about the movie as a whole, we'll be doing that as well. You can find that. But this is the non-spoiler review, and we're just gonna talk about the movie a little bit, give you some of the facts, non-specific facts about what's going on here. Should you see it? Will you like it? Yeah.
All right on. Well, if we're talking about how this is assembled or what people were looking for, the question that was on all our mind, how are they going to base all this? Because there's a lot to pull from. One thing I did after seeing this was really just do some looking into some of the material that may have been being pulled from it. Sure enough, there's actually quite a bit here. I mean, it's a busy film. You got a lot of different circumstances happening at once.
A little bit.
Arguably, almost too many in some ways. And this will make a really interesting review to kind of pair off against what we just saw with Thor. Some similar circumstance happened dealing with the instances of Ragnarok and then everything else that was with Grandmaster and everything else. But spinning what we have here with Justice League, there's 4 or 5 I think key comics to look at here. If you're big into reading, hey, great. Maybe if you want to,
like me.
Not like you, because you already established you can't, right?
No.
Okay.
No, I can't read.
Or if maybe you just want to again pre-buffer a bit, build up a little bit of lore. A lot of this is stuff I hadn't even delved into. It might be worth looking at. One of the biggest pieces of lore that this is based off of, and for DC, is the Justice League Volume 2. This is from DC's 2011 Justice League series. This had a pretty beefy creative team. You had Geoff Jones, Jim Lee, a lot of the other major creative staff on this. And if you look, in fact, I think in one of the even the main cover of Volume 5, you see most of what we have right here in the Justice League movie itself. You got Aqua-man, Cyborg, Wonder Woman. This is available digitally too, the whole series, so it might be one to cut into if you're just looking at basics.
There you go.
Another one, Aqua-man, specifically Volume 8 of that. This is also available digitally, and this is one of the interesting things too. We saw this a lot in the trailer, just as far as Aquaman's character. It was really weird seeing him sort of outside of being more of like a stately kind of royal presence. He's really a rough-hewn dude. You say wild-caught Alaska.
He's a redneck.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
He's a hick.
Yeah.
All right.
My man. You want to talk about wild-caught Alaskan salmon? Well, hey, here you go. But
is he like that in that at that point in the comics?
No,
he isn't. He's not like that now, is he?
No.
No, I don't think. No, this is their doing.
This is such a different cut, such a different take in the character. But if you really want to delve into sort of where some of his more regular roots are, where he's based in, check this one out. Again, that's Aquaman Volume 8, 1 through 6. The other piece here, and this goes way back, some old-time DC. This has to do with the New Gods. We've seen some foreshadowing of our horned villain who shows up in this movie, and there's still a lot of unknowns to play with, but looking at the origins of some of the super beings in the DC universe, some of those in maybe an orbit that you know or that you don't know. This run of books was New Gods 1 through 11. You see a couple of popular faces on that. I think Darkseid's on the front of one of them, but that's a source. And honestly, lastly, really, you could pull from The Flash Volume 5 or JLA. 10 through 15. All these are again available. You can pick them up digitally or in print. But this is kind of important for DC when we're talking about lore and whatnot, because when I think of that, and especially source material, it's kind of tough. DC has these Infinite Crisis and these cullings of timelines because you have all these resets and restarts and retellings and everything else. It's kind of important to know, all right, where are we roughly standing, or where are we roughly pulling from? So dig in. If you're a comic fan, there's plenty to look at there. I think that'll tell the story in and of itself. And yeah, good luck if you read it.
Yeah, you're a nerd. That's why I said that you should bring that up when we do this. Yeah, I want to call you a nerd. No, you damn nerd. No, yeah, okay. No, I did notice in the credits, I will say this, and I did notice that they did give credit to Jack Kirby for the Fourth World information that they used, obviously, in this movie. Mm-hmm. So, quick rundown. The Justice League, we know who they are. They're Batman, they're Wonder Woman, Superman, Cyborg, Flash. Mm-hmm. Is that all of them?
Do we get GL, Green Lantern?
No, well, he's not in this.
He's not, but just Justice League in general. You're right.
But yeah, so you got basically the superheroes that we've been introduced to at this point to come together to take on Steppenwolf, who has come to reclaim the mother boxes, which mm-hmm. we got introduced to mm-hmm. a little bit. Yeah, so this was the big one. This was Justice League.
Yeah.
It's something that Man of Steel came out 4 or 5 years ago.
I will pull that for you in just a sec.
Yeah, so we've been building up to this.
2013.
Overall, this movie is a giant mess.
I think that's accurate.
It's a big mess. It's just like Batman v Superman. It's a giant mess of a movie. And it's a giant mess for, as my understanding, I just found out in the last few days, it's a giant mess for about the same reason. They cut 40-plus minutes off this movie.
Wow.
And you can tell in the first act. It suffers big time in the first act. It's really, the editing is so rough, and there's chunks missing. Wow. But you know what? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I think that's going to clue in as well to the home release once they actually come out with this Blu-ray and DVD.
Yeah, that's what they do. They'll be like, hey, here's the director's cut that, here's the best version that we could have come out with, which is why I won't buy any of these movies on DVD. It's like, that's the version I should have gotten in the first place, just like Batman v Superman. I should have gotten that version the first time.
I agree.
And what they did that with Suicide Squad too, I think, to some degree, although not the same, because there's so much blowback about the Batman versus Superman director's cut they put out. Here's the thing, though. Again, painting in broad brushes. I left Batman v Superman not wanting to see more.
Right.
It was like, okay, all right. I went through that. And actually, I saw it twice because I promised somebody else I'd go see it with them. So I did have to go see it twice, which really, I was so dumbfounded at how much of a disappointment it was the first time that I really needed the second time to tell me, yeah, it really was that bad. You weren't imagining it.
Right.
The difference, I think, this time, though, even though this movie is plagued with some of the same problems, is that I actually left this movie wanting more.
Right.
As much as this movie is plagued with the editing issues, maybe too many hands in the pot or whatever that saying goes, there was some really great fun moments in this movie.
I agree wholeheartedly. Action-wise, even in some ways surprisingly, conversationally, there's some really solid elements here, and that they don't just help the plot advance and help that along. You got some development, you got some growth, and honestly, there's a couple of real standouts in terms of scenes. So that did work. I agree. The thing I'm concerned with is what we're seeing as opposed to what DC is saying. DC is saying that they want to take steps to walk away from the larger DCEU. What we're seeing, though, is we're wading more into that territory. I think that idea of wanting to see more, I agree, Shirley, on the basis of, okay, now we've walked deeper into that water. clearly there's more here, there's more constantly opening up, but yet now you want to pull away from that. I don't know. That's really going to depend how they handle the rest of that, and I'm not sure if they're going to or not.
They're not reacting properly to what's going on. Some of these things take time for them to do and to see, and then they'll knee-jerk react to it,
Right.
And it's not appropriate.
Right.
So let's break this down a little bit. Visually, this movie is stunning. You do still continue to see, and rightfully so as far as this goes, Zack Snyder's handprint is all over this as far as visuals go. And I mean, and I'll always say he's not a good director, but the guy can frame a shot like it's nobody's business, and you continue to see that here. Visually, it's a great movie. Still a little bit too dark at times, and I mean that literally, as in sometimes like, come on, put some more lighting in this. You're not doing your movie justice. That tends to be a theme in most of these DC movies, which is kind of weird. But visually, this was a beautiful movie.
Yep.
It was really there. It was really cool to see all these superheroes together on screen. Sometimes it was great to see them working together. Everyone and everything looked pretty awesome. In particular, some people are giving Steppenwolf some lip service. I think he looks like a great villain. I think he's shallow. And again, that's probably part of the editing, probably some of the writing on that. He actually had a really cool classic villain's vibe to his appearance and to his reactions.
He did,
but he didn't quite. They didn't quite build him up enough for him to be this huge dooming thing. It's like, okay, we need a reason to be doing all this. Right. And you accept it because you've paid your money for the ticket. You're sitting in the theater, so you have to watch this. Right. So, but it does fail in that regard. But besides that, everything looks great. Visually, I thought this was well done.
Agreed. And let's frame that too about our what so much revolves around our main villain, Steppenwolf. In the comics, this guy's a big deal. Coming into this, this is someone who took out Wonder Woman. Felled Superman as well. Really just gave about everybody a huge run for their money, and is associated with the likes of Darkseid, the armies of Apocalypse. Oh, I'm even saying that right. I'm sorry. I think taking him out of that context more and really giving him here as a standalone villain, placing him here in the DCU automatically gives us a sort of separate context. So yeah. Now we're forced to have a new reason, a new cause outside of the basic source material he's been leveled on, and you'll see that develop throughout the film. But I think the ending of that is just a little questionable. His end game, amazing introduction, but
he lacks depth. They do a good job of building up this powerful looking grunt, but he just lacks depth overall. I thought that was a weak point. Anything you want to say on the visuals?
I was concerned. I know when we start talking about the CGI elements that play into a lot of these, I was wondering how extended or how short they were going to be. I thought things worked. I didn't feel a real sense of awkwardness. There was some especially awesome scenes with Flash. When I look back at the visuals, I think that's the standout thing in my mind taken from this. That's what I remember. The way they depict the Speed Force, the way they depict what he experiences when really just breaking into a completely different realm with how fast he's moving. Very cool. And good to watch. They've refined that pretty well at this point.
Yeah, I went into this thinking Flash is going to be one of my favorite parts of the movie, and he was. Ezra Miller does a great job with it. Every time Batman was on screen as, in the Batman suit and everything, it's just like, that is the best Batman I've seen on screen ever. Which is what I felt like just the moments he was in Suicide Squad and when he was in Batman v Superman. Obviously, he was the best part of that movie. I don't know if he's the best part of this movie because there are some other great things going as well. Right. But it's still awesome to see him. And Ben Affleck's got that character down. He even does a damn good Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But yeah, just visually, this was a stunning movie. Sound, score, sound effects. What'd you think?
If the score here, maybe it's because Hans Zimmer isn't in the center of it, as I'm used to him being in Man of Steel and some of the others. Perhaps that's the reason I don't turn back to the score immediately. The score fits. That's not to say it's inappropriate or it just misses the mark. It works. It's bold where it needs to be. It's triumphant where it needs to be. It's thoughtful where it needs to be as well, and that works.
I marked out, and I heard of it. I heard I was going to hear it when you hear the Batman theme.
Yeah, yeah.
From the '89 movie, I marked out for that. That was so perfect.
That's a really important note. The carries here, I'm coming out of this less in mind of a general score that I was like, oh man, that's awesome. Like again, Hans Zimmer, like Inception, Dark Knight, but more of these just sort of these tag calls, as you said, the old school Batman theme, the dropping the Wonder Woman theme where they did all just those really small like drops of themes really adds up, plays into the pairing, the huge parody they have going on with all these heroes here, and then you frame that with the good old shots of kind of everyone together, Justice League and Unity. Hey, call whatever you want corny. I love that stuff. I always like those big moments of having all that build, and then you get a lot of characters featured together or focused on one objective. I dig it.
Well, and I think I'm not going to say too much of this. You're going to probably know exactly what I'm talking about, though. I think there's a moment when a certain character comes on screen too, where we hear another old school theme hit in this movie. Did you catch that as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Right on. Yeah, going right along with that, just the overall like audio, the sound design to it, I think is spot on with the scene. I don't feel that any of the SFX or battle scenes interfere with the themes, vice versa. In fact, I'll say this, one of the coolest things I've really enjoyed about a lot of what DC has set up is their weaponry. I adored Wonder Woman's swords, also the shields that she's used in the previous movies, also Batman v Superman, her solo movie, here is no exception. Steppenwolf's weapon is awesome. The sound effects to accompany them as they cleave through things and whatever else, they're cool. Mm-hmm. They're really cool, and they fit well. I really like that. Mm-hmm.
So story-wise, I mean, we talked about this a bit. This is where I think the movie fails the most. It just like Batman v Superman, this just seems like something I think we've seen enough of these now, where we've seen the solo movies, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, and we've seen these group movies now for the DCEU. They just don't know how to tell a story with so many characters.
Right.
They're just failing at it. This movie is the same. It does not know what to do, and there's times when you're seeing action sequences in this movie, and you're just like, well, where's this guy or where's that guy? Because what he was doing would not have kept him this busy.
Right. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but then there's times where things are way too short.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie fails in this part. And you've got Zack Snyder, and even though he doesn't get the credit for it, you do have Joss Whedon, who you can see plainly where, in some instances where his handprints are on this as well.
Yeah.
But the story is just it's a mess. It's get back to that. That being said, there are some great moments in here when it is really cool when they the Justice League are all working together and they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, which obviously the story is what brings that all together. But at the same time, I think they really missed the mark here. I mean, what makes this not be a great movie is just this is a chopped up mess of a story, and it's all over the place. I really wish we would have gotten, maybe if not that whole 40 plus minutes, at least half of it.
Yeah.
It's The storytelling in this movie is garbage. It's going to hold it back, and a lot of people are going to complain about it, and rightfully so. I think what's the shame about it is that look, you had an opportunity to right this ship. You're so close. You've got so many things from the last time from Batman v Superman that you had wrong that you've corrected here, but you're still putting this together like an intern got to map it out.
And in some ways, there's a lot we knew that was coming with all the changes, the directing changes. Some of those forced. Zack Snyder did have a pretty dramatic instance he had to attend to once he bowed out. But I think whenever there's this, when you have a very busy plot happening, you have a lot going on, but then you have a lot of hands in the pot as well. Making different contributions. That is a monumental challenge to balance.
I don't know. I can't give him that, man. I can't.
Fair enough.
I can't. Now when I look at Avengers, and I know that the same guy who put that together came in to take over and put this one together. The amount of time and effort and money they spent on the reshoots that Joss Whedon did.
Right.
I mean, the same guy who sewed the last sweater sewed this one too.
Yeah.
And even though he had to make up for somebody, he was basically told, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
And it's, and a lot of it, I really think comes down to he turned in the film that he'd put together after everything. And they're like, we have to chop a bunch off of this. I really think that a lot of the problems with this movie lie in what we didn't get.
Yeah.
And I really would have thought that Warner Brothers would have learned from Suicide Squad, be careful with how you edit this thing. And if they hadn't learned it with that one, they should have learned it with Batman v Superman.
Yes.
And it's like this is what bothers me. I think it bothers a lot of people is that you have the guy who made Avengers and you chop up his work. I mean, if he turned the movie he turned in, I think he had earned that's the movie that we run.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And it's not. And so it's such a shame. But this, I mean, unlike Batman v Superman, this one there was a lot of fun here. And I really left the theater thinking, gosh, I wish I'd get some more, just because I was really starting to enjoy what you put together here despite its flaws.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. All right. Well,
was I too hard on that?
No. I think that's more than fair, actually. And part of it is just being honest with what was given, what was picked up, and I think what we ultimately had. And again, a lot of this, I'm gonna chuckle once this comes out for the full extended cut release. Of course, we'll inevitably get on Blu-ray and everything.
I'll download it.
Yeah.
I'll download it. Because I already paid to watch that movie. I should have seen their best foot forward the first time when I paid.
Am I wrong
for that?
No.
No, I'll download. I'm not going to pay for it again. I'll download it. That's all right. I'll get it for free off the Pirates Band. Because I already paid for it.
All right. I mean, I'll let somebody else judge if you're wrong for that. So that's
well, they can judge what they want. I'll tell them the truth. I'm not wrong. I paid for that movie, your best cut, the first time.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's one thing if it's Star Wars and 15, 20 years later, George Lucas added in some CGI and he re-releases it in the theaters. That's different.
It's a different story.
That's different. That's different than half a year from now they're going to release a director's cut with 40 minutes of footage I should have got the first time.
All that in mind.
Oh, you're not even touching it.
All that in mind. No, I am. You want to rate this one here? Or you want to wait till we fly?
No. I want to talk before we do that. I want to talk about the cast.
Okay.
All right, I want to talk about the cast real quick. We talked about that a little bit, but I think it needs to be said because in superhero movies, it's important that you get the cast down right. I thoroughly enjoyed everybody here, and I give them some crap for it.
Right.
I give him some crap for it, but Jason Momoa, he was great. This is actually one thing, and I really have not enjoyed this version of of Aquaman, but seeing it in the theater, I am actually coming back like, you know what, I can deal with this.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's all right. Even though he's Hillbilly Jim, I
Yeah.
can deal with it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm okay with this. They fleshed that out a little bit more. That's definitely something that they got right. I will actually want to see Aquaman when it comes out in theaters now.
Sure. No, same. One of the most interesting things that's being played to here is, and I didn't expect this. We do get more of a slice of his heritage, of the lands he defends, the Alteans. A little bit of insight into that. I think just enough to give you a cut of, what's this guy? What's it about? What's his full history? There's enough questions raised there, I think, to pique interest about a solo film, and I thought that was well done, considering the space of time they fit that in. So
right, and just real quick, when it comes to the characters as well, you definitely do see the end of some arcs that they've built up from prior movies. You do get to see them brought up and some ending to some of that in this one, and that was good to see. There was some completion when it came to some longer ranging stories in this movie between certain characters. One of the ones, and I'll mention this briefly and vaguely. When we saw Wonder Woman and we did the review on that, one of the biggest questions was, well, what has she been doing all this time? They do actually address that. I was glad to see that.
Yeah,
because we have not been able to have the trust and faith in the DCEU to be able to acknowledge those kind of things.
right.
So I was glad to see that they'd done that. There was some interaction between a couple other characters as well that was played off of well from prior movies. Whether those elements were good or bad, they did them service here. So, but overall, I thought the cast was great. I would say, so if you want to rate this, was there anything else you wanted to say on it?
I do want to chip in real quick about Cyborg. This one I was actually pleasantly surprised about. I know for one of the first times I saw Cyborg was back in like Teen Titans and some of the early comics of Justice League. But this was solid. I was really concerned with him being in the whole group. I was like, how much investment will get built up to really looking at this character? But if anything, no, he not just someone with a high intellect, a pretty salient character. He almost acts as like a pseudo narrator sometimes. I thought that this was a really solid performance, to be honest.
Yeah, it's funny because when we talked about this the other day, I mentioned that I heard some people were saying some great things about Cyborg. No, I have to say that overall, I thought he was the weakest here.
Fair enough.
So, and I was even thinking that I was going to think otherwise coming out of this, but I was actually thinking, some people are even wondering if we're still going to get a Cyborg movie. So, I don't know, but okay, we'll rate this. I'm going to give this out of 1 to 10 Justice Leagues. I'll give it a 6.5. A 6.5 Justice League. This one's been tough. I was going to give it less. The storytelling in this really is garbage, but it really. I mean, there's nothing. There's no other way to say it. The storytelling here is garbage. But they did a good enough job putting these characters together at times. But really, this is a story in the loosest sense of the term. 6.5 Justice Leagues out of 10 for me.
Fair enough. I will round off that count of Justice Leagues with the 7 from my end. I have very similar grievances about the storytelling, the way things are chopped up, sort of the way the balancing act is performed and whatnot. But some of this is going to lie on A, the second release, or B, what's the future of DCEU if there is one.
Right. We don't know what's going on. We know there's going to be an Aquaman movie. There's going to be Wonder Woman 2. I think they're still going to do a Flash movie.
Yeah.
But that's all we know. I mean, the Cyborg movie's up in the air. The Batman trilogy is all over the place.
Yeah.
They've already said we're going to do the DCEU and we're going to do another franchise that may or may not be connected or something. It's whatever.
So that's what it is. That's what it is. But there you have it. That's our cut of this for the non-spoiler review. After the jump, you'll be able to check out our spoiler review if you want to dig into some of the details, and just open your Christmas presents early. Even though it's not Christmas, you still got a month. So,
or watch it after you've watched the movie and see if you agree. Let us know if you agree or not. Real quick, just for people, something I want to start bringing up in these movies. There are 2 after credit scenes. There's one about
Good
1
point.
minute in after the credits, and there is another one at the very end. And they are both pretty cool.
They are.
You don't want to miss them.
Worth staying for, especially if you're a big DC fan. Get on out and see it. All right. That'll do. We'll catch you guys after the jump. Thank you for tuning in. As always, take it easy. Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, if there's anything we go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but if great, if you could throw some support, you can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksongmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, pick up, and maybe not find. Maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.